This week on RSBANDB Update, Hati, Skoll, and Fenrir are back, and we also have the accompanying Valkyrie's Return community event. Also, discussion on the future of comp, hyping the mining and smithing victory, our solution for stone spirits, and the spoils from Vic the Trade. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 708, recorded Thursday, January 24th, 2019, the Cape of Shame. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us once again for RSBANDB Update. This week, it's Combat Week, and the usual Winter Wolves are back as well. Joining us for this is, of course, Tanis, as per usual.
Thank you, Shane.
And Tycho, who is from that very far northern region where those wolves... those wolves come from... Wolves come from Finland, don't they, Tycho? Not Sweden.
Oh yeah, sure they do, but they sometimes come over here and visit. We got the brown bears that can give you really big hugs, and then mooses, of course. Big mooses. But you already know about the big Swedish bear hug since Runefest, don't you, Shane?
Yeah, I certainly do.
You know about them big Swedish bears there, Shane?
Oh, just squeezing really hard. Oh, Shane. Such a good memory. The only shame is that we didn't get a good picture out of that. I mean, the expression on your face was... gave me mixed feelings.
Oh, I think there is a picture of that somewhere, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Anyway, so you guys ready to talk a bit about these Winter Wolves that are back?
Yeah, this is always like my favorite little winter event.
Yeah, so
it used to be.
It's a bit different this year. So the Wolves are back as they are every year. They offer the traditional bonus XP. For Hati, of course, is Combat XP. For Fenrir, I believe, is Prayer and Divination.
Yeah, Prayer and Divination.
And Skoll is Woodcutting and Fletching, I want to say.
No, Agility.
Woodcutting and Agility. So you kill each of the three Winter Wolves, you get their cosmetic pieces that you can wear, and you also get the XP and bonus XP along with that, as you did in all the previous years. But this year they have added on to this event and made it a traditional currency event, so that from now until February 11th, you'll get these Valkyrie feathers while skilling, doing combat, or even fighting the Winter Wolves daily in order to complete the Valkyrie's Return event. And what you end up getting for this is a full Valkyrie-themed Jormungand cosmetic weapon override set, a one-handed sword, a two-handed sword, a bow, a staff, and even a cape. And if you go all the way to complete it, you'll get the Charioteer, teleport animation, and also the Of the Valkyries title, and a special tiny Valkyrie bobblehead completing this event. That's what completing all the various stages of this event will get you. Now,
I don't think I have seen a bobblehead since Sliske's Endgame.
Right? I think this is probably one of the easiest bobbleheads to get that's not RNG based. You just need to play the game to get it. Now, you can also get 500 feathers a day just by going and killing the Winter Wolves. So you get 200 from Fenrir, 150 from Skoll, 125 from Hati, and 25 from Frank. And you're wondering, who is Frank? Well, Frank is this guy up on the Fremennik path. You go talk to him and you get 25 feathers. So that's a bit of a hidden thing that wasn't mentioned in the news post this week.
Yeah, that was a funny thing, that after defeating the three wolves... I just went to the small area that's just northeast of the Keldagrim entrance, where the DKS favoring is, and you will see a wolf called Frank with 100 life points, and if you examine him, it will say the legendary wolf ? And if you kill him, you will get a ring. You take it to Eir, and she will insist that there are 3 wolves in the Nordic mythology and not 4. But after convincing her a bit that you should get a reward because we of course love rewards above anything else in this world, then she will give us 1 bonus XP in either prayer or divination.
1 bonus XP.
1 bonus XP. And if you go back, you will find this person walking around the area, and he says, "Have you seen my dog?" "No, what does he look like?" "His name is Frank, and he has a rusty old ring around his collar."
That's a neat little Easter egg.
And I just gotta say, good job, Jagex, on making me feel like the worst person ever. I just killed somebody's dog, and he even gave me a missing dog flyer. And at the end it says, "Frank is a very good boy." They just shattered my heart right there.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
You know, Jager's not normally one to talk about animal cruelty and whatnot, but there you are. There's also a neat little thing with this is that when you kill Hati or any of the wolves for the first time, you also get a Jormungand ring. And you bring this ring back to Air, and this is a replacement for the Air spear and helmet portion of the event from last year, because recall that previously you would get either the spear or the helmet, then you would need to find someone else to trade with, and as the event progressed it became harder and harder to find these because people weren't doing the event anymore. So the idea now is that you don't need to trade with anyone to complete this event. You just get this ring whenever you kill your first winter wolf, bring it back to Ear, and she will reward you with her portion of the event.
Very cool. Where is this Ear at? I could not find her
by
for
the
anything last year,
by
the
the Relica lodestone.
Oh, she's by the lodestone. Oh, I kept looking by the tree. I thought she was by the divination spot.
No,
Okay.
that's where she used to be. Now she's by the lodestone.
Oh, okay.
And interestingly enough, if you open the event menu and you teleport directly to the event, it teleports you right to the correct spot, which happens to be right next to the lodestone for some reason.
Huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So
I think it's an interesting choice that they are choosing this as a currency event instead of how they usually do. I think it's good because it makes you go back and kill the wolves more consistently throughout the event, especially for those who don't have much play time but really want to gather their feathers. So the 500 a day.
And the feathers come in very quickly. I'm up to like 6,500 feathers, and I've just been doing my regular daily play session. So
that's good. I'm missing a bit that we are seeing a trend over the social interaction. For example, where the Hero's Quest and the Shield of Arav was reworked, so you don't have to be dependent on somebody else. And here we have a similar step that you don't need to trade with other people. I think it makes more sense in this case because it was, I won't say it's annoying, but I think it should be this option that you can get more rewards if you trade with somebody else, but if you want to do it on your own, then that's totally fine.
You're entirely right in that, and maybe what they should have done instead is make it so that in order to get the bobblehead, you need to trade, because I think that's what everyone's going to want, because that is the most physical thing that's going to be following you around.
I think it's more about the armor because that shows more. And when it comes to pets, especially pets and capes, it competes a lot with the most prestigious you can wear, especially capes where you have the Master Quest cape, the Comp cape, or the Max cape. That's all the most popular ones. And when it comes to pets, well, boss pets and skilling pets especially. So I think it's more about the armor, because Fashionscape is so incredibly complex and it's never gonna end.
Yeah.
You got a point there. You do have a point.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's always somebody who's gonna complain, "Oh, this doesn't look right. The color is totally wrong. I would wish it was a bit of a more brown style here on the right side."
I know. I only know one person who has ever maxed and didn't get into the Fashionscape.
Me.
Shane.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, I mean, and there were lots of questions about whether or not it was a good idea to make it a currency event. I'm going to go on the yes side that this was good to make it a currency event because, you go there previously, you kill each of the wolves one time, you're done in 20 minutes. Whoop-de-doo, you're done with the event for 3 weeks. Whereas with this one, you're constantly interacting with it until February 11th. And you also do have the choice of converting these to the usual stuff, the usual right-click currency convert option.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want any of it, you have that as well. And this is perfect time to get bonus XP and all these skills because Vic is back this week.
Oh, Vic. Yeah, that's right.
Vic the Trader. Back at Birth of Bloodstone, and he's here to take all the sweet, huge chunks of bonus XP you got from Hati, Skoll, and Fenrir. And wow, we never mentioned that they give you quite a huge amount of double XP. I mean, for a 99 skill, you get 160k double XP.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I traded in all my double XP and everything that wasn't farming. I'm sorry, everything that wasn't herb lore. And when I wound up with this, guess how many tokens I ended up with?
230. That's my guess.
1,053.
What?
Yeah, 1,053 tokens.
Shayna, this is harder to believe than if the next Elemental Workshop quest would come out.
Well,
how is that possible?
I have lots of bonus XP.
How many years have you stocked up on that?
Just since last time Vic came around.
A whole year?
Yeah.
Okay. You're pure farmer and herbalist. You're certainly not a all-around skiller.
Tanis, are you as floored as Tycho is here?
Yeah. I mean, I guess those daily spins add up. The daily keys.
Yep, they certainly did. Now, I want to tell everybody here that when you're looking into Vic's shop, there's one item I think everybody should be looking at today. And Tanis, you know what that is, right?
The ram hammers.
Yeah, the large dwarven toolboxes. 900. I bought one. I bought 1 star to put into Herblore, so I ended up having 963 points that I was able to put into these ram hammers. And each of the ram hammers each of the ram hammer boxes goes for 50. So I was able to get 19 of them.
Oh, yeah, I only got 12.
And I got around 5,000 ram hammer charges.
Oh, wow.
Now I understand why the economy is broken.
I wish I had done that because I thought, so I was only about 20, 30K away from what I thought was the gold accumulator at Dunge. And so I turned some of my tokens in for that. And then I got to the Dunge and found out that it's 1.5 mil. Oops. So that was a bummer.
Yeah.
In my case, I only had 1 farmer's outfit left, so I really had to use the little double XP that I had to get 300 credits, which is why I'm so flawed.
I could have done that too. I mean, I'm missing pieces of the Constructors, Runecrafters, and Black Ibis outfit. I have everything else. I could have done that. I didn't want to get any of the pieces for the other outfits because you could make all these outfits now with invention.
Well, the thing with the constructs, the constructs is quite easy to obtain. It's a reward from the temple teching minigame, so it's easy.
Forget
Shane.
that.
It's easy.
I'm not.
I can show you personally.
No, that's okay.
No.
See, the problem is not that it's easy. It's an activity you don't want to accept that it's easy. That's the problem, Shane.
No, we just don't want to do it.
Yeah, we just don't want to do it.
Oh, the community, they want things delivered on a silver
No,
platter
I've had
in
this
front of them.
opinion of temple trekking since the day it came out back in 2006 or 7 or whenever that was. Anyways,
Okay.
that's enough with the Winter Wolves. You guys ready to move on to the patch notes?
Yep.
I will just recommend the Black Ibis outfit, since it's quite rare from Pyramid Plunder. Never gotten a piece myself. And then the large Dwarven Toolbox, must get. The skill outfit, head add-on, really good to get, and the chances of you getting that from Treasure Hunter, very small. And lastly, rare item tokens. You get 2 for 1 credit.
All right.
Sadly, the rare item tokens won't be refreshed in the near future, but if you like Fashionscape, get it.
So, Combat Week
True.
patch notes. So, just starting off with these here, an issue that caused AoE spells such as the Burst and Barrage Ancient Magics to not award Adrenaline correctly has been fixed. That's pretty important there. I don't know
Oh
what
yeah,
caused that.
8% is pretty important. Actually, 2% if it's double.
If it's an auto attack, yeah. Performing abilities while moving with Revolution enabled will now correctly play attack animations.
That was a fun one. I did some experimenting, and there's probably multiple patch notes about this specifically, but they basically separated the animations that your legs do, your lower body, with the upper body. So if you run around, you will see your legs run like usual, but your upper body will do this ability animation, which in some cases looks hilarious.
Oh, okay. So this is more just a visual thing then.
Yeah, it's a visual thing because the upper body always shows what you are doing, and then your legs, well, it runs the way it's supposed to be running. But yeah, it's a visibility thing, and really makes it clear what ability you are using if you're not clear on what Revolution is activating for you.
Next up, added a small delay when equipping items from the action bar so that they can't be accidentally instantly removed. Should the mutated Dazing Shot ability or Salt in the Wound ability miss on your enemy, the timer for puncture will now still extend.
Huge thing in DPS.
Yeah, I got a bigger one here as well. The damage modifiers from enhancing Scrimshaws, Berserker Auras, and the Metamorphosis ability are now calculated earlier in the combat formula. This means that bosses phase correctly when they reach their HP threshold, and mechanics that rely on damage to progress, such as Telos' Tendrils or Virago's Pushback phases, will now take additional damage from the modifiers into question. So, helps for Telos and Virago. Isn't that one of our favorites,
Not only
Dennis?
that, this is huge, because there's so many bosses nowadays that uses phases to make the fight more interesting the longer you go. I mean, it's Queen Black Dragon, Virago, Telos, Araxi, Gregorovic, Angel of Death, Yakamaru. I mean, the list can just go on forever. So, this will make the battle more responsive. And it can be for the good, for the better. I mean, if the boss enters a harder stage, the deeper it goes, then it's bad. But in the end, this is an incredibly huge update, because this will increase the reaction time of bosses a lot. And anyone who's done next will have noticed that she reacts instantly the moment she switches phase, which is incredibly good. And I am many times myself wish that why can't all bosses be like next, like instant reaction times. So this really good one.
The insta-kill in the last phase of the Solak fight will no longer consume signs of life and death, and what actually happened with this is that this last phase now has a built-in resurrection, so it was incorrectly triggering these signs. Now moving on to the ninja fixes, this is a big one, and this is perhaps even bigger for combat than ninja. Allow a worn slot item to be added to an action bar slot, allowing you to use that slot's options even when switching items. So let's just say you want to have your ring always be on a specific action bar slot? Well, all you need to do is unequip the current ring that you're wearing and drag the ring icon in your worn equipment interface to the action bar, and then that will update whether it's a Luck of the Dwarves or if it's the cabbage ring that you're having in your inventory. And same thing can be said for any slot. You can even drag the weapon and the shield one in there for some reason. I don't know why you would need to do that, but you can drag any worn equipment interface slot to the action bar and be able to activate it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It feels very specific. If you previously needed to equip something very low level, if you didn't want something to happen, now you can unequip it instead. So
I think this is my favorite patch note of the week.
I think this will be for very specific uses. I can only think of in a PVM situation that if you're using a different style, if you want to unequip, for example, if you're bringing out your status Warhammer and want to use its special attack on the boss, then you unequip your mage or range equipment.
Yeah, I think that's what it was designed for, to be able to do. So
yeah.
Next up,
this is huge.
Oh, go ahead.
No, and this is huge, but I don't think that this has a big purpose, but it's actually a huge fix. It's sad I don't think see its real value yet.
Okie dokie. Reaching a Shattered Worlds checkpoint now restores life points, prayer points, summoning points, run energy, and cures poison.
Nice.
Should have been in there from the very beginning, but okay, that's good.
Oh, yes, it should.
Now, in regards to the mining rework, players now have the option to turn off mining hit splats for critical swings and opportunities. And this largely came about because of a known issue where hit splats are currently causing players in safe mode Java to crash. The ability to turn off hit splats now allows for these players to mine without crashing. And for those of you guys wondering, you can find this in the general settings, game interaction, and it's about halfway down, right next to where you find the stamina bar while mining, right underneath that hide cogs on augmented items toggle. So, I'm not sure how I feel about this one, but that's a topic for another day. The liquid gold nymph will no longer gild pickaxe in the tool belt when you pick option give the nymph a different pickaxe. Yeah, that seems like it would be a waste if you had just a standard rune in there.
We had Clannies who took the dragon pickaxe and put it in the inventory and told the nymph to gild it, and it gilded the bronze pickaxe in the tool belt instead.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. And this wasn't unusual. This was so common that we had people going around telling people to put the dragon pickaxe on their tool belt and have no other pickaxe in the inventory.
I made damn sure that when this thing came up for me, I said I want to do a different pickaxe.
Yeah, I did too. But that was after I had messed up the first time.
Oh,
I had to do it twice.
Oh my god. Okay.
What did you do?
Tannis had this problem twice.
Oh. Yeah, I just had to go through the half hour of mining, to get her to come up again. But still.
It's way easier now. Now half an hour instead of 5 hours without getting a new.
5 hours of just the most toxic chat.
Oh no!
you could ever imagine.
Don't remind me.
Makes portable worlds look like kindergarten.
And I can't even speak because I'm a player moderator. And as soon as they see me, oh gosh.
Oh, it's probably just roast central for you. It's like, woo, roast Tycho. What we have?
The P-mods. Oh, sorry. Did I just say that? Oops.
Yeah, exactly. Wrong chat.
All right.
Oh, dear.
Next up, moving on into smithing sections. Pets, familiars, and followers are no longer able to enter the artisan's workshop. A forge and anvil in the Yanil workshop has been moved to allow clue scroll hunters to once again dig from within the building. Clue hunters rejoice.
Why?
Because it's easier to change the building than it is to change the clue, apparently.
No, but just go around to Timber. Stay at the
I
backside.
guess we'll need to ask Derp about that one, won't we?
I mean, the X marks the spot there. Why do you need to dig inside a building? Where's the realism in that? Tannis, would you accept if somebody go into your house with a spade? And just, I'm going to dig this floor here because I don't want to do it in the garden?
Yeah, that we'd have a problem.
Yep.
Steel and iron plate bodies can now be smelted into ingots. That's interesting.
I have no idea why they did that when they took away all my steel plate bodies anyways and turned it into tokens.
You could presumably convert those steel plate bodies now into ingots.
Yeah, but they took it anyways, and then I could convert it into ingots or salvage.
Oh, you can convert the tokens to ingots. Okay. I didn't know that.
I mean, yeah, it was made. So I got 200 of those in bank waiting for double XP.
Here's a big one, and I'm still not certain if this is enough. The smithing auto heater will now consume 5 coal instead of 1 to reheat in progress smithing items at 0 cost, at 0 heat. Auto heater 1 to 5. I don't know if that's enough. What do you guys think? I don't think it is.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I think it's okay for
5
now.
Yeah, I think also that 5 is okay for now because we're talking about 5 per reheat. And if we're talking about masterwork armor, that's quickly going to go up to 250 or more. On the other side, coal is very easy to obtain, especially since there is so much leftover from before the rework. So, 5 is okay for now, but maybe look into going up to 7 or 8, but not at 10.
All right. The layout of the Varrock Southeast mining site has been updated to more closely resemble the Easy Clue Scroll map. Once again, changing the world to fit in with a clue. Also, the Varrock Southeast mining icon now includes tin ore, but not enough to spawn rock opportunities. Armor spikes will no longer damage invulnerable enemies. Boy, I reported this in the beta. Glad to see that it's been fixed.
Whoopsie. This is not good.
No, and of course the number one place you would test this is Curadel's dungeon.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of bigger stuff, but yeah, Curadel's dungeon, yeah.
The spring cleaner will now use the appropriate amount of springs when alking node and salvage. Previously, it would only use 1 spring for a stack of multiple salvage.
This was so broken in God War's dungeon.
Was that when they would do the arrows? It would run through all of your springs, like a whole load of them? Yeah.
I mean, not the arrows, but they replaced all the rune swords and steel and everything, and sometimes they drop multiple salvages, and you just used 1 spring for the whole drop. I mean, that was so broken, and I'm going to talk more about the spring cleaner later into the show, but I'm glad this was fixed because I was like, wow, spring cleaner is the best item ever.
Nope.
So yeah, this is more to make
this
it
is more in line. All fanatics have been given their notice of termination and sent home as their earlier service is no longer required after the mining and smithing rework release. This is in part due to the numerous noise complaints.
Tannis, have you heard of the mining and smithing rework?
I vaguely, I've seen something on about it.
All right, Rune Minotaur.
I must admit that it was annoying, especially when they said your name, like, hey, Tycho Elf, have you heard of the mining and smithing rework? Like, you get this psychological reaction that they named you. You can't ignore it. I think that's part of why it was so annoying for so many players.
Rune Minotaur pouches now use 100 spirit shards instead of 1 spirit shard. There goes that Tannis right before double XP weekend.
Rip.
There's a new setting called Automatically Trigger Regenerate, which activates when leaving combat. This can be found under Gameplay Combat Action Bar. Now, here's where this gets maybe a bit controversial. This is disabled by default for existing users, but will be enabled by default for any new users or any returning users that have lapsed for over 3 months.
My only question is why? Why the difference?
I think it's because in the higher level of PVM, or actually
In the
not
high
even
level of
higher
PVM,
level.
you want to preserve adrenaline, of course.
Mm.
But if
We
you're
use
just
this
doing,
adrenaline.
but if you're just doing day-to-day Slayer, this is something I do instinctively, so I don't see why it's an issue. But at the same time, I don't know. It just feels clunky for me for some reason.
I'm not sure how to feel about this either, because adrenaline stalling is something that is it's a basic technique, a very basic technique if you are going into bossing. I mean, not even high level bossing, but even God Wars Dungeon bossing. And this can really mess up for those who comes back and doesn't realize it's a toggle. Like, oh, this is the worst update ever. I just miss 1 second of not activating my stalling, and it suddenly drains 10% adrenaline.
Here's the problem. In 3 weeks, we have added 4 to 5 new toggles or checkboxes to the gameplay settings. And there's seemingly no definition at Jagex or no guideline for what makes what we call a sane default, as in, does it make sense for this to have this default action? There is no sense of that, in that some things are yes, some things are no, and players are left to their own devices to figure this out. And my question is, how are people going to know how to turn this off? If you come back after 3 months, they're going to think it's a new feature. And you're going to have someone who goes to try, do a boss, comes out of combat, sees their adrenaline go down, and gets mad. Where are people supposed to go to this? That settings interface is just far too obtuse. As you can tell, this is something I'm deeply passionate about and something I want to keep talking about. But that's not a topic for today. That's the topic for the next Informer article. I want to move on to our discussion on the CompCape rework, because we alluded to the fact that this was coming, but now we actually have a poll here in game. And I want to start with the poll rather than the actual blog post itself, because I think that's the way most players are going to do it. And if we look at it from that perspective, we're gonna get a better picture as to how the players are going to see it. So, starting off, question 1. Capes of accomplishment, especially comp, have the best in slot stats and utility, which makes them seem mandatory for PVM. This locks the best in slot PVM gear behind completionism, and we'd like to fix this. What is your preferred solution? Option 1, these capes should be cosmetic only, and useful capes come from other sources. Option 2, these capes should remain best in slot, but easier to get and maintain. Or option 3, don't change anything about the way benefits on capes work. I went for option 1 because I come from the era when Fire Cape was best in slot.
Dennis?
I'm really on the fence with this. I haven't made a decision yet.
All right, Tycho?
So I had a problem with this one because I believe that if you go such a length to obtain Comp Cape, then it should be best in slot. But at the same time, at the RS Discord, I have made some pitches about that the capes should be cosmetic and we really have this sense of pride behind them. So I was going to back and forth, and in the end, I had to choose the same thing as you, Shane, that capes should be cosmetic only. Even though I think that it should be best in slot at the very, very, very end, even though I know that Mojack has been telling us that that is the core problem. But
my reason for choosing this is not only because that's how things used to be with the Fire Cape and the other Tazar Cape, but also that it's a really bad game design decision in order to make having the best in slot item behind something where you need to complete hours worth of content that is in its sake. the very least to say grindy and not necessarily related to what you're trying to do. In that case, go bossing.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. Janice, have we swayed your opinion at all?
I don't think it needs to be best in slot myself.
Okay, so not option two.
This is one of the rare occasions that I will stick up for the PVM community, and I don't think they should have to do all this stuff for their best in slot.
All right,
cape.
so you're going to go option one then?
Yeah.
All right. The next set of questions. Some old updates had requirements added to comp and or trim comp, and assuming comp is no longer tied to the best in slot stats and benefits, should we go back and add requirements for updates that we didn't yet add to comp and trim comp in the past? Your options here are yes, go back and add all the missing requirements immediately. Yes, add missing requirements, but do it gradually over time. Or no, don't add any missing requirements. And I went add all the missing requirements immediately, because you know how I felt about the amnesty regarding Menaphos and whatnot when that came out. And also, this gives them a good jumping off point to say that, hey, we can add comp cape requirements whenever we want to, and it becomes its own unique thing.
What constitutes as a missing requirement? Like, what makes it missing?
It's the definition, because they've been going... The problem is that the comp capers, or those who obtain the comp cape, are split into two groups: those who obtain comp cape for PVM and those who obtain comp cape because they are really passionate about the game and want to truly experience everything the game has to offer and show it in the Fashionscape and their personality. So the PVM wants easier requirements. The completionist players want harder requirements, and therefore Jagex has sometimes not added requirement, especially from player-owned farm, simply because they know that the PVM community would never accept that they would put such a grinding requirement behind it. So personally, I wanted to do it gradually over time, but when thinking about it, if they do a whole rework and they separate the PVM thing from the comp cape, then I don't see why not do it gradually over time. So I choose, do it immediately.
Why isn't there a choice to not add any?
Yeah, there is a choice. That's the third choice.
That's my choice. That's my choice.
Okay. We need to write a consistent definition of what shouldn't be on comp and trim comp in the future. When we do, should we remove requirements from comp and trim comp if they don't fit it? Yes?
Yeah, no Reaper.
No? Yeah.
No Reaper.
Yeah, I say
yes.
Yeah, I say yes as well. And, you're going to rework some stuff and you're going to ruffle some feathers along the way, but let's face facts here is that the Master Quest Cape is already a good example of this. The Master Quest Cape has many things in it that could fit into a comp cape, that could also fit into a combat cape and a PVM cape as well. So if we're looking at this, let's look at everything and be honest and look at the true definition of what these capes are and expand on them and remove and add where we need to.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the Master Quest Cape requirements, but I was thinking that if you do a whole rework, this is the moment where you have the opportunity to leave no strings attached, like doing it cleanly. The Mining and Smithing rework is also an example of doing everything, like no stone unturned, and get it right. So yeah.
Okay.
Everything.
Next had a question. The way Capes of Accomplishment work makes all players feel compelled to grind out new requirements as quickly as possible to get the cape back. What is your preferred solution? A special cape for players who previously owned the cape, e.g. X-Comp and X-Trim, or a grace period during which the player can still wear the cape while completing the content, or none? This is not a problem. And of course I went for none. This is not a problem.
Yep. I agree.
The stupidest idea on here is the X-Comp and X-Trim capes.
Why in the world do you need an X-Comp or X-Trim cape? I mean, that feels like a cape of shame.
The same cape.
I mean, if you got an X-Comp cape, then the question isn't, you're awesome, you were X-completion. The question is, why haven't you gotten the cape back? Shame on you.
Okay, that's actually a really good idea. Let's add that in.
The cape of shame.
That's
yes.
actually a good idea. I wish I could change my vote to that now. All the people who can't get the new stuff done, get the X-Comp and X-Trim capes, a shame.
If that was a thing when Solar came out, shame on you, PVM community.
That would have been beautiful. Oh my god.
That's friggin' hilarious.
I can totally see that in front of me, like a whole, 2,000 players gathering in one server, gathering at a Lost Grove, wearing the cape of shame, and dear compers, we're gathered here today to witness the content we will never be able to create. Let's all log out and hope that this is for the best. Amen.
Final question.
Sorry,
Tanis.
I was just gonna say I have a cape of shame. It's the quest cape. I used to be able to wear it. Now I can't. I keepsaked it, so it's there. I can look at it. Can't put it on.
I mean, if you want to prove that you are X-Comp, then that's why the cape you got in your bank. Take a screenshot of it and remember the old days and frame it on your wall. I mean, it's not harder than that. You don't need an X-Comp cape of shame. No. This is not a problem. This is not a problem.
Some players consider content like forced group content or very challenging PVM bosses to be inaccessible to them. Should content inaccessible to some players be on capes of accomplishment? Yes, all relevant content should be on capes. No, but there should be a separate cape or trim which recognizes completion of all relevant content. No, this content should not be required for capes.
I don't that's not worded very well, is it?
No, it's not.
Because I'm confused, badly. So break it down for us, Shane.
So the first one means that you want that for a comp cape, you want everything on it as we have now, all the hard and accessible content. That's option number 1. Option number 2 should read as yes, it should be on capes of accomplishment, but on a separate cape, which recognizes so, for example, a PVM cape or the Reaper cape is what I'm seeing here.
Okay.
So that's what I'm seeing option number 2 as. And option number 3 is no, if it's too hard, don't put it on a comp cape. That's the way I read this. I voted for option 2.
Yeah, that's what I would vote for too.
I voted for option 1, that it should be relevant content, because if they get a definition right, then the most important thing is that they follow their own rules and their own definitions that they have set, and not deviate from
you see what the thing is here. With option 2, that gives us the option of having multiple capes, not just comp and trim.
So there should be a PVM cape.
Yeah.
And I think it's fine to separate those out.
I would love to see a way to have the PVM requirements, like the lore book PVMs and whatnot, removed from the Master Quest cape and go onto a PVM.
No.
But how can you ask people going for a Master Quest cape to kill AOD?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's right.
Well, nowadays you don't need to kill AOD, but it's not about the means; it's about the book.
Right. It's about the book. But does one of the top end bosses really is that one of the ways that lore should be accessed through game? Because going back in time, all lore was brought in through quests and mini quests and little neat tidbits throughout. So, of course, that's probably out of the scope of this project, but nonetheless, there's the poll. They did something actually really good with this one. I don't know if you guys caught this. As soon as you vote, the poll disappears. You can't see the results.
Yes.
To prevent biasing and bringing other people in to vote a specific way.
That's good.
Very good. It made votes predictable. I mean, the first 24 hours, if there was a group that was leading, that was much bigger than the others, then obviously you would vote for the winner, unless you were had a reasonable argument of why, no, I want to go with the other group because it makes more sense. So hiding is a really good choice that they made here. It's good that they are really taking advantage of the in-game poll system, which they reworked a while ago.
All right. There's not too much I want to talk about in regards to the blog post here. I just want to highlight this one section in terms of the problems that they see with comp. And I'm just going to sum these up very quickly. The problem comes down to stats and utility on the comp cape. Problem number 2 is that they say if they fix this, it would allow us to fix the second biggest problem, which is the requirements themselves. So number 2 is requirements. The third, they say they're aware of specific problematic requirements which keep recurring, especially Reaper and Castle Wars. And problem number 4, this is exacerbated by the fourth problem, which is that once you've maxed yourself, itself is no small feat, the next thing to aim for is comp. And if you're not going to comp, then you really don't have anything else to aim for.
Yep.
I must really give credit.
And therein lies the problem with top-end RuneScape and why the comp cape rework is needed.
Yeah, I mean, it's either comp or it's 120. It's which direction do you want to go?
Precisely.
I mean, that's, yeah.
I really want to give credit to Modjack because he's been creating a ton of Discord channels. I think we are up at 11 at the moment. And the discussion has been quite, I wouldn't say heated, but hectic because there's new people coming in all the time to the point where he had to add a limit on how many posts you can put in Discord per minute.
Yeah.
So whenever you made an argument, it had to be a solid argument because then you couldn't post or answer your question. And he's done an incredible job, not of leading us to saying, this is what I think, this is what I hear from you players, and no, this is a discussion that's been going on for days, weeks, and now even longer.
No, it's been going on for years on this podcast.
Yeah, on this podcast, but in the Discord, I have no idea how a single person can read so many comments, but he basically summed up the best points we had and put it in a box, presented it, and he's basically been leading us in that way. So he's gone from Mod Jack to Mod Jesus in that sense. We'll basically be following him, telling him, that's exact the point, Jack, that I want to make. That nice job, Jack. So credits to him for actually reading everything we post and leading us in that way.
All right.
I just want to shout out that.
So before we move on, I just want to point out that the reason why I suggested that there would be other capes than that in that last question is that it says we can address problem 4, comp being accessible, by adding in other capes of accomplishment, which are more specific and or require less work to obtain. For example, we could add in several PVM capes and skilling capes, which get harder and harder to obtain, giving lots of different players something to aim for. The controversial part of this would be what stats these capes would have, which is why we're asking in the poll. And this is going to
let's make them cosmetic, like
this is going to be make them cosmetic, and this is a perfect option to say that if you get another 13 million XP in your farming cape, you remove that 13 million XP off, and your cape changes to be something else more beautiful.
You mean something more prestigious?
Exactly. Oh! Don't you love how there's always an opportunity for this? Like, the opportunities for this rework that I've been talking about for years, in every update that comes, is just staring everyone in the face. They just need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes up all the time.
And you know what the really funny part about this is that the players want this. It's just when it's presented in a horrible way, they don't want it. So, But anyways, that's just an important little paragraph there, and I want everybody to have a little bit of food for thought with that. So I'm going to leave this discussion right there. And with that being said, we're going to move on into the dev Q&A that happened this week, and lots of talk about the mining and smithing rework in this little chat that they had, and we're just going to run through this. I really didn't pull much out of this. They're looking into masterwork and fixing the augmentation issues that it has with it. Rock opportunities in specific places like Bane will be made more visible, Tanis.
Oh, that's good. That is a really bad spot there too.
Yeah. They're experimenting with salvage drops, and they say it is a buff to PVM, and it brings in raw gold. So getting 40 kill count at God Wars Dungeon 1 can bring in 300k with the Spring Cleaner, apparently.
Which I have done personally, which is something you never did before. And I repeat, 300k in raw gold, straight to your money pouch.
Yeah, but how much is that going to cost you in springs?
That was like 5-6 springs.
What?
That's the broken part.
Because it was broken. Okay. Well, then that wasn't intended.
Yeah. So they're going to be looking at changing this around, and they said it was not intended to be a buff to PVM. Everything was designed to stay the same, but we'll talk more about that later, of course, as we know. Availability, problems with invention components, looking into nerfing shop prices, possibly smithing salvage. What was this one about, Tycho?
So the problem is that, especially Iron Man, with mining and smithing basically not giving any components anymore, Iron Man and especially players are having trouble of finding where to get their components from. And a very natural way to get components nowadays is to head to every shop in the whole Galenor and buy everything they have in stock and just disassemble everything, which I have been doing for a very long time. But it gets costly in the long run, and it has a very high junk chance, especially if you just start to do invention. Then the junk chance for bronze is somewhere around 98%.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
So it's very costly for a lot of junk, and it's not worth it. So they want to look into nerfing the shop prices and maybe possibly smithing salvage, which is a very interesting thing, that not using your boss to making a piece of equipment and then maybe high-out shit, but instead making it into something that will give you components.
See, the problem with it is that if you make it pure salvage, people are going to be able to alch it for those alchemy prices. What they would need to do is they would need to come up with a special kind of salvage just to get the components.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah. So
I don't see a problem with the way it is. Welcome to being an Iron Man. You wanted a challenge.
I mean, I could easily get all the components I wanted if I went to the God Wars dungeon and set my spring cleaner to auto disassemble everything. And it doesn't even take springs. I just have to have it in my inventory and run around and kill everything. But then it would have been to lock behind having the spring cleaner. And if we are talking about killing mobs and obtaining everything and disassemble, then we're just back at pre-rework, but possibly, I wouldn't say worse, because the salvage actually gives a high number of chances, but we're still at that grindy point of doing it, which wasn't something that was popular.
But the whole idea of Iron Man is nothing but grindy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
But at the same time, I mean, if they can't get components from smithing their own stuff now.
But you can get them from salvage, right?
Yeah.
So they can still get it from drops if they disassemble.
Right. But
yes.
But if you disassemble an Elder Rune 5, what do you get for components?
I have no idea.
All right, let's look this up.
That would depend on what type of salvage. If it's blunt, spiky,
what
sharp.
kind of materials do you get?
So it depends on the type, as I said.
Elder Rune plate body plus 5.
Okay.
Disassembly, you get 8 materials from it. It gives cover, plated, deflecting, and will rarely give strong and protective components. So yeah, you can still get your own stuff from.
But what's the junk rate of Rune plate body nowadays?
0%. Elder Rune plate body 0%.
No, that's impossible.
That's what the wiki says. Elder Rune plate body base junk
Oh,
gen.
Elder Rune. Okay, then I understand. Yeah, okay, Elder Rune. But still, you smith that thing for so long, and then you only get 8 possible components?
Well, you're an Iron Man. You got to deal with
Iron Man. That's my point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I will still use
Iron Man is supposed to be hard. It's become a lot easier over the years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
it is prestigious because it is so damn hard. I would never want to do it. I respect it, but I would never want to do it. But if you keep making it easier, then, I mean...
45% base junk chance on a rune plate body +3.
As base? Okay, that's reasonable, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, I'm with you, Tannis. I'm just want you to know that I'm with you. It becomes easier, and if it's too easy, well, it loses that bit. But that's also the fun part of Iron Man, to figure out what's actually the best.
Gem rocks are too hard to mine? How are they too hard to mine? I don't get that.
Oh, gosh. And have you tried mining one of those?
No.
No, I can tell. You get... Oh, gosh. They take, like, twice the time to mine than a light and a mica rock.
Okay.
Twice.
All right. That's fair. All right. And I remember hearing on stream they're going to fix that next week or something, so that's good. 45% of active players are still involved with mining 2 weeks after release, and this is messing with the economy. Yeah, of course it's messing with the economy. Rune is currently at 1K GP. This is more than was expected.
Getting 45% of active players involved with the skilling rework, that's a PogChamp right there.
Yeah, how much more could they want? 45% of the player base.
If this was the Olympic Games, they just took the gold.
Yeah,
right
and
there.
You know what? Like, quit worrying about the economy. The economy will settle down. It's been 2 weeks. On top of that, you have double XP coming up. Like, just don't touch it. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Let everything chill out.
I would say it's actually still not settled. So
no, it's not.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk more about this after in Pernasius's question. Now, this next part, would Jagex do something like this again for wood cutting? They say it's hard to say, unlikely, and they say this caused significant gaps in the 2018 release cycle.
And I call bullshit. You guys know I was pretty animated in pre-show because I don't agree. Why is it mining and smithing and not mobile?
Well, the mobile team is also out, so there you go.
Yeah, but what, mining and smithing is the one to take in all the crap? No.
It's both, to be honest. And, I think it was a restructuring part too, because, they had to pull people off of things for mobile, and presumably they're going to need the mobile team going forward, because you don't just release mobile and that's the end of it. Every update you put out has to go through mobile.
And new mobiles are coming out, and new huge things in the mobile world. So, of course, they're going to hang on with that.
Yeah.
But,
this, you chalk this up to them not being able to, or not wanting to do this going forward. I personally chalk this up to a bad question answer. The question shouldn't have been answered in that way. They should have spoke from the heart, talked about passion and how, and I spoke about this too. You tell me to design something, whether it be a website or design some part of a new tool or something online, I will sit down and I will happily do that. And everybody who works on RuneScape will also probably happily do that as well. And you can see this when you start talking to them. And this is something Sirion and I did actually at RuneFest, as we chatted with a number of the JMods about the process behind the scenes and whatnot from the software development perspective. And then as soon as you mention that, and as soon as you start heading in that direction, the software development direction, they light up and their passion goes to a whole different level. So they should have answered it with that passion rather than saying, I'm not going to do something like this for woodcutting. Probably not.
Yeah, I thought this was just, in general, it was a bad stream because there was no good news. It was just not good. And I hope that, like, your interpretation is the correct one. Like, I want that to be the correct one, because what really, really bugs me is every time it is something for anyone other than a small PVM community, then we have to question, was it worth the time? Was it worth the development time? Is it a cost-benefit analysis? And no one ever says that when it comes to a new boss. No one said that when it comes to Solak. No one says that when it's Elite Dungeons. No one ever says that about anything other than skilling or questing or anything like that. Then they can beat up on it all day long. And how can you – I don't even understand how you can beat up on this. This is like the best update I've probably ever seen.
Yeah. And, this is a problem, and it needs to be addressed. And I'm actually going to be talking about this next week in my Informer article, believe it or not.
Oh, cool.
The path to victory in 2019. I don't know if they'll go down that way, but to score such a huge victory so early in the year. And, there's different kinds of victories. You can have victories that are figurative in that when you're looking out for a specific case, for example, like I'm going to take this to the realm of law. Let's say you're fighting a lawsuit. You might lose your actual case, but if you set some pretty good damn precedents along the way, you could still consider that a victory. Or if you're playing a sports team and you're playing your favorite sport, you're going up against a very powerful team opposing you, but your team does really well. You execute all your strategies, and you learn a bit throughout the path through the game, but yet you still lose at the end. You can still find something in that to call a victory. That's one kind of victory, but the mining and smithing rework was a whole other kind of victory. When you have 45% of the active player base involved with it 2 weeks after release, that says something, and also the fact that it was able to be shipped without any major game-breaking bugs that required rollbacks. What they effectively did was launch 2 new skills in 1 week, and that hasn't been done since 2002. So this was a colossal victory for the company, and they're not acting like it, and that's really disappointing.
Yes.
Come on, bring out the champagne.
Yeah, that's what bothers me, because it feels like they're already saying don't expect anything like that again. Like, that's the feeling that I got from it, and that really saddens me. Because they left it all on the table. We know what they're capable of, and then a week later, like, I don't know if we can do that again. I don't know if we would do that. Come on, guys. Don't
smile
say
at
that.
the camera and tell us this was the best update ever. We showed them. Everybody thought that we would never be able to be capable of this ever since EOC. Now look at what we've done. Huh?
Yeah.
Can you say that to my face?
Yes.
Something like that. Something like going forward, like bringing out the inner hero in yourself. I mean, I know they are sitting at desks all the time, having dreams of Dungeons and Dragons, but still, just smile at the camera, bring out a victory pose, and show the fire within you.
It's a real simple question, or a simple answer with the question, would you do this for a woodcutting rework? You just look at the camera and say, that depends. How bad do you want it? Because if you want it, we can do it. We just proved to you that you wanted this, and we did it. We can do it again. But how bad do you want it?
I'm gonna answer this question. I'm gonna pretend I'm Mod Jack right now.
All right.
Yes, I would absolutely love to do something like this for other skills in the game: woodcutting, fletching, crafting, you name it. But here as a company, we do have time commitments, and we have just proven to you guys how impressive this update was and how impressive updates can be. If you guys want something like this, you need to get out there. You need to tell us. You need to tell us on social media, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. You tell us that you want this, and bring your fellow community members along, because this update was not possible without you guys and the opinion and leading that you gave throughout this entire process. And we can get it done. It's just a question of time, commitments, and sacrifices of what else might need to be given up. But if you guys want this, yes.
There you go. So Mod Shawnee and Shane on the couch, every live stream from here on out, done. We would be good.
The only reason to not do this kind of update going forward is time commitment. And It's a question of, do you want to give that point up in the release schedule? But if you have something that is so big and you're injecting this kind of energy into the company, it's a good thing to do. It's just a question of how often.
But that sounded so much more positive.
And I still got the initial point.
Yeah.
And you see, I still got the initial point across, is that it's a question of time commitment.
Yeah. And I think everyone understands that. So the mere fact that you can make it positive, I think that's what needs to be done. Like, it needs to be framed in that kind of a
you just used an important buzzword there, Tanis. Framed.
Yeah.
I like that word. All right. Moving on, beta worlds, if there's potential dangers that affect players' banks or updates or can cause deaths, then that's when they do a beta. And, they say they don't like it when people hoard items in large quantities, because then when the value changes, that means that people are going to lose money and they need to take banks into account. So that's one thing. But there's also the most important thing that came out of this discussion, is that there's generally not enough time in their projects for beta, because most of the updates that go into game have a standard 12-week project development cycle leading up to release, that projects would ultimately be finished by the time that they're ready for beta, and it's just better to release them. Not only because it just gets them to the players faster, but because there are things like quests and whatnot that they can't provide spoilers for.
See, now, back when we did a bit, didn't Sirion make a point similar to that?
Yep.
Like I remember that.
And that was built on just standard industry practice, knowing how things work, and chatting with a couple JMods.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And they need to accept that people love hoarding bank.
Stop hoarding. Hoarding's bad.
Yeah, I was generally surprised when they said, "I'd start holding gold instead. Just sell everything." And I'm like, no, that's never, ever gonna happen. Like, that's the unspoken god of RuneScape, hoarding. Just take the item that you love the most and just get a max stack of them in your bank.
I've totally been playing this game wrong for the last, how many years. I didn't know that. I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, same.
I have no stack.
No, come on, Shane. If we look at your bank is full, but nothing but seeds and herbs. Come on.
No, I have no more. I have no more than 50 of every seed.
But you still got a ton of herbs.
Not really. I'm at 1,000 toad flax right now, but that's just because I'm saving for double XP weekend. So.
Only 1,000 and you're saving for double XP
I
weekend.
only need 3,800 or so to get 120. So I'm 2,800 away.
Okay.
Yeah. Now a bit on theme patch weeks. Major bugs that break the game are going to be patched and released as per usual. Player feedback, which can be used to improve the game, but doesn't necessarily have to be released or fixed as fast as possible, can be held for patch improvement weeks. Players often miss important patches, which should be more easily able to discover if there's a focus or a certain theme. And this also allows the developers to talk about specific topics involving the patches, since they are more closely related. Boy, where have we heard this before?
I don't know. I have an old memory, Shane. You have to remind me.
We talked about this in early 2018 on the podcast.
Oh,
suggested
really?
doing something similar. Yeah.
It's almost like they heard you.
Or it's just common sense.
It's probably parallel thinking, but yeah. I know. I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, there's their solutions for the dead weeks, because that you're putting a theme. It makes it feel more like an update. Finally, you're getting it. Finally.
But yeah.
I must say, it's very interesting to watch Jagex these days, It's very interesting to see who is doing the messaging, where the teams are coming down. Some teams have good messaging. Some teams just have really bad messaging.
And good execution.
Yeah.
And other teams. not as much. Saying.
It's a lot about social skills.
I don't
Especially in
expect
front
much of.
camera.
You know what though? I think Shane has a point though. Like those guys, they don't need social skills.
Yeah, this
They
was
need
what
to
I
be
said
good at
in
what they
pre-show.
Yes.
You know, if you look at anyone in the computer engineering, software engineering world, they would much rather be looking at a design document for a piece of software in some cases than talking to the media on this. And that's why it's a mistake to have them talk to the media on this. And you can say that their streams aren't media, but they definitely are media.
Oh, they're totally media. What there should be like a spokesperson.
Yep.
That's their job.
Yep. There should be.
I can still remember when
be.
Shawnee made his one-man streams where he talked and showed all the updates. Like every Friday he showed the updates and everything, and he did it in a incredibly good way. And now it's been upgraded or downgraded, depending on how you see it, to that everybody joins him in the couch and talk about it.
And I'm just going to give you a bad example of them handling media, and it's that mobile blog that came out before Christmas.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Oh, gosh.
Terrible.
The content of it wasn't bad. Like, the content of the blog wasn't bad. The blog was well written. It had good points in it. The points were valid. But you don't go releasing that before Christmas, before
the timing.
2-week gap.
Yeah.
If anything, next week would have been the week to release that, where they still got the goodwill after the binding and smithing rework.
And there should, like I said, there should have been someone that is running through every communication that comes out should be running through someone that is like a press secretary type person, you know, like, yeah, no, we're not good with that. That's not the right time for that. Or this is good to go. This is our message. Everyone stay on point.
Yeah.
If you're asked about this, here are your talking points. They could actually learn something out from politics, right? I mean, with the message.
And this isn't
and
the
that's
first
what
time
and,
that's
and,
happened.
and that's what I'm trying to. If any J-Mons are listening to this, that's what I'm trying to convey and teach. That's what you guys need to do to become successful. If you guys can manage that and you could fix that problem, you just solved 75% of the issues with all updates.
That's
and
true.
if you had solved it earlier, then maybe the invention of the damned could have been PR'd better, and things could have been discovered more early.
I'd say that one was more 50-50 than 75-25, but
Yeah.
All right, just some other little grab bag things before we move on then. The player-owned farmhand update will be released on the first week of February. They're going to be doing a game jam in April and one after RuneFest, focusing on the RuneFest player feedback.
It's not decided. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, that's what they want to do, of course. Quest replayability was asked about again, and it's not a thing since folks like Mod Raven spend more time making the quest replayable than people replaying quests. One example they gave was the ability to replay the My Rec series on the beta worlds. 8 people replayed that My Rec series, and I knew 5 of them. 2 of them,
probably all clan members.
Two of them were from RSBANDB Informer. The other 3 were from Clan Quest.
Yeah, and I were one of the few people who replayed the whole Sliske's end game without any shortcuts.
I think you're kind of a sadist or something. Whatever the
Oh,
word
thank
is.
you.
Whatever the word is for someone that likes pain, that's you.
Machinism?
Yeah, there you go.
Machinist?
Yeah.
Come on. It's just a labyrinth of death that takes like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
It took me like 2 days and 4 hours or something. Like, I don't even know. But
I mean, that was truly a... Okay, actually, I won't go too far into that, or I will be here for quite some time.
Yeah.
But to sum it up, it was challenging, and I'm looking for challenges, which is everybody who's going for Comp Cape or the Master Quest Cape, which I got before maxing, should be going for.
yeah, I actually thought the way that they explained this one was good. It made the most sense to me, and afterwards I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't do that either.
Yep.
Yeah, they actually convinced me, a quester, that it's
So that was a
not
good
the
job.
best. Yeah. Yes, that's a good job if they can explain it to me.
Next one is, why do quests have terrible rewards? And, Mod Jack, at about 28 minutes in the stream, says, we gave away all the good rewards that came in as quality of life fixes. And
I remember this one, especially from when they made a right-click option on Fenrir, so you can bypass scenarios.
See, I don't agree. Am I the only one that doesn't agree with that?
Well,
I don't agree with that.
I think the Zenaris Fairy Ring one is perhaps a bad example.
Maybe, because there are some things that could be really good quest rewards, but other things that really make such a huge
skilling outfits.
Wait.
Skilling outfits?
No, Shane, no. You can't say that you lock skilling outfits behind a quest like Elemental Workshop 5.
Oh, God. Yeah, you just convinced me there, Tycho. All right. Yep. No
You're welcome.
skilling outfits.
Why did I even say it? Now I know that Shane will come to RuneFest this year and pitch it to Mod Osborne.
But what they're saying, I feel like a quality of life fix is a quality of life fix. It just makes the game better. That shouldn't be a reward.
Yeah, I think there's I think they used the wrong word there when they were talking about quality of life. I think what they mean is smaller ninja kind of things. So, weapon diversity still in the design stage. It must be released in one go and not over time for balancing reasons. Okay, not much to write home about there. Why does it take time to fix bugs after multiple reports? This was a big one. If the team can't reproduce the bug, it's not a bug. And bad description and lack of details is a common thing in bug reports. And, one guy on the couch, I think it was Kelpie, said he spent 6 hours going through bug reports one day and he found one actual reproducible bug.
Oh, yeah, and they were talking about Mod Shogun sitting a whole day also with that, and yeah. So I never knew that actually was a problem, that people say, hey, I'm stuck in a rock, or hey, this is bad, and they never give any accurate details. I mean, whenever I write a bug report, I make it as detailed as I possibly can.
Well, of course, you come from the engineering background.
Well, yeah, I do, actually. Yeah,
but couldn't this be fixed with a better template of bug reporting?
Yep.
So that people know exactly what they need to be, the information they need to put in there.
Yeah, they do. So, I don't know. I mean, anytime you ask a user for a bug report, it's half the time more than half the time you're going to get garbage. In some ways, you just put the bug report form on there just to, kind of extend the olive branch. I personally have had really bad experiences with bug report forms, so that's just me. I find them less useful than not, and given the modern era, perhaps social is more important, but it's always good to have a thing just in case you get the one diamond in the rough. Once again,
was that a pun?
No. Once again, the tick system was asked about. Yeah, can't be done. Need to effectively rewrite the game for that.
I'm actually happy they answered that, because I have for a very long time. I mean, I understand for a very long time that they can't remove it, but I still had the idea, why can't you just double it twice as fast?
Things would go twice as fast.
And here they answered my question right here, that there's such a huge quantity of content that's dependent on it being exactly 0.6 seconds. I thought that could be bypassed with some kind of plugin or anything, but nope, we are stuck with it. That's reality, not gonna change, so might as well drop it.
Yeah. All right, and Elite Dungeon 3 has a release date, indeed February, but they're keeping that close to their chests, just in case it needs to change. So,
when was the last time they said there is a release date but have not told us it? How long has it been? Has Jagex learned how to be secretive again?
I hope so. All right, we just got a couple other tiny little things to wrap up before we move on to the discussion question. I did promise you I would have some XP rates for mining, high-level mining XP rates. I can't test mid-level because I can't make my mining level 50, unfortunately. So if you're mining Anamika and going for rock opportunities, you're going to get around 150, 145k XP an hour. This isn't 4-ticking it. And this is indeed focusing on the rock opportunities. So if you don't focus on the rock opportunities, this is going to go down substantially. Now, with that being said, if you're just wanting to AFK and, you want decent XP, you're going to go for Saren Stones. That's 150k XP an hour. Total AFK, as in 0 stamina. But if you click every so often and go for mid-level stamina or the White Spark, you're going to have around 160k XP per hour at Saren Stones. So as you can see here, Anamika is definitely below that 145, 150 if you're focusing on rock opportunities. If you're not, it's going to be significantly less. And if you are going for the 4-tick Anamika, that painful way of doing it, you're focusing on rock opportunities earned. You got the full Quarry Master outfit, the Mining Golem suit, 180 to 190k XP an hour at Anamika, 4-tick.
Tell us the big one.
But, of course, the big one is Golden Salt, 4-ticking, right, Tycho?
Yep, 4-ticking.
315 to 330k XP per hour.
That's almost double as much as Anamika 4-ticking.
Oh, there you go.
And this was done with Lava Titan, full golem outfit, the pickaxe of Earth and Song, augmented, honed 4. Wow. And I didn't even use overload. Shane had to stop me there.
Yeah. So there's our XP rates for high level. I don't know where the economy is going to settle when it comes to Anamika. So I don't know if you want to invest that much time into 4-ticking Anamika at this point. I'd say you're probably best bet if you're just wanting decent mining XP still without the ore is probably just to go for the Saren Stone still. Because, of course, the Golden Salt is finite per day. So.
Yeah, you have to jump a lot of islands in the Ark and...
Yeah.
Unless
you have your own private one. So.
Yeah, but even that one runs out sooner or later.
All right, so there's the high level mining XP rundown. So, one final piece of RS news from Jagex this week: they are removing the companion app from the app stores on February 1st, and after the game update on February 4th, the app will no longer continue to work. So, I honestly hated this application. It felt really rough around the edges. It was basically a web app in a container. They could have done better on that front, but it did serve its purpose for the people who used it. So I wasn't a fan of it, but I guess some people were.
Have you used it, Tennis?
I did when it first came out. Now it looks like I want to have to remove it from my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it became very popular because you could do canned exchange on the go, which, of course, if you are into merging and the canned exchange marketing system reminds a lot about the real world, then that basically meant you could make money on the go. And this was huge when it came out because, well, computers was getting smaller, but now you could literally have the RuneScape economy on your phone, and you could message. You could be in clan chat at the same time. And I feel a little bit sad about those who don't have access to the RuneScape mobile beta because of this. So, let's
hopefully
hope.
by the end of Q1, I'm hoping.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's hope for that. And let's hope it's just as big of a victory as the mining and smithing.
All right. Well,
I'm optimistic.
We're going to move on to our discussion question, but first I'll just take a moment to remind everybody about our Patreon page, which you can find at patreon.com/RSBANDB. That's where you can support us doing the podcast if you want monetarily. For $1 a month, you'll receive a special mention in our show notes and early access to them, as well as the ability to join in our roundtable discussions. And, of course, you help us fund the costs for hosting and production of RSBANDB. And for $3 a month, you'll get a special VIP rank in Discord, special mention on the podcast at the start of the month, and access to high-quality stereo AAC versions of the podcast each and every week. And for $5 a month, the ultimate gift, you'll receive a shout-out on the podcast each week and get exclusive access to the outtakes that we use for the clip show, which, as we are just starting out in January, that's something we're going to be waiting for a long time. So there's our 3 tiers of support. And where we're at right now, we're currently at $27 of $30. So we're doing our current monthly bit, which is focused around our top hot button issue for the RuneScape community of the month. These are released at the end of the month to our Patreon supporters. And at $30 a month, we're going to be doing Inside RSBANDB Update, which is an inside look at the podcast, including interviews with our hosts and production team. And you'll learn how the podcast comes together. And you might even get a sneak peek of where the podcast is built. And at $50 a month, should we ever reach that, we'll be doing the RSBANDB Update Roundtable on the first Saturday of each month. Join us for a discussion on everything and anything RuneScape-related hosted in our Discord. These will be streamed live and later published. Patreon supporters are, of course, encouraged to enjoy the event and join in on its discussion. And at $99 a month, movie night in the RSBANDB Discord, which, knowing who we are, will probably include some Star Trek movies.
And Star Wars.
Of course, Star Wars.
All right. Well, we definitely do hope to get there. So if you want more to figure out more about this, or you want to help us along on this path, or you just want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/RSBANDB. And this week, I would like to extend a very special thank you out there to Kyle, Brock H., Seth W., and Zez for your wonderful support of this podcast. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
It really means everything for us. It really gives Jane the force to push this podcast.
Oh, the force.
Yep, the force.
It's all them midichlorians in his blood. Can't help it.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, so
Strength.
we do have a discussion question from Pernasius, so let's get into that right now.
G'day guys, it is Pern here. I hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year. Now, Jagex gave us a fantastic present to kick off 2019 with the release of the mining and smithing update. This has been amazing, but sort of as I predicted, it wasn't the moneymaker that Jagex promoted it as. The whole update is probably the best thing in my eyes since the release of EOC, but the total lack of GP for the Masterwork armor and the negligible XP you receive has been a little sad, even though it was really expected. One thing I'd love to hear your thoughts on is if Jagex could have added the Malevolent and Praesulic Essence to the Metamorphic Geode drop table. Seeing that the Geode is a pretty rare drop itself, and that there are a lot of other items that are gained from this as well, I think it would really add to that wow moment that they're looking for, as well as giving skillers that rare opportunity to perhaps gain a couple of these essence if they mine everything themselves, and therefore give the opportunity to make a reasonable profit on occasion. It costs around 35 mil GP per Masterwork trim, and you need 12 of those to make a full set. So if there's a chance to get one or two of those essences off your own handiwork, I think this would greatly enhance the feeling skillers have towards this armour, especially since, once again, the PVM community is really dictating the money that the skillers can make on it by adjusting the prices of their drops to ensure that they stay at maximum profitability for themselves, while the skillers cannot even get good XP for the long hours of work that Masterwork takes to create. Anyway, that's all I have this week. Welcome back, and here's hoping that 2019 remains great for the whole community all year long. And by the whole community, I mean both PVMers and skillers. We really do need to make sure that the two communities work together and do rely on each other. Anyway, that's it for now. Happy RuneScaping to you all. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.
All right, I'm going to get us started off here and address the Geode question right up front. And I think they definitely could add those essences to the Geode table, and they could add a lot of stuff to the Geode table as well, because that's supposed to be our wow moment for skilling, as he said. But what they need to do in addition to that is they need to make the Metamorphic Geodes a a bit more common. Sure, you can say that the resourceful aura can be the one that gives you an increased geode chance, but instead, let's make it so that the luck of the dwarves and whatnot is the one that actually, rather than increasing geode chance, increases the chance of a metamorphic geode, because that's the one that we want.
I don't agree with you, Shane. Partly because I think there needs to be a balance between the thing that PVM brings in and
but
then
1 in
what the
100, but with
skillers
1 in
can
100,
produce.
but with 1 in 100, that means that in theory, having something be 1 in 100 and you're getting these geodes means that, you know, you can go all the way up potentially to mining, say, upwards of 300 plus of these and still have a 75% chance of not getting a metamorphic geode.
Yeah, but I think there's two problems at the moment. The first problem is that there's a huge amount of players who's doing mining. I mean, we got the number 45%,
Yep.
and that makes
Yep.
that there is a huge quantity of ore
Yep.
overflowing the Grand Exchange.
And now that you mention that,
prices down.
that'll take me to my next point. Don't do anything right now. Don't do anything right now. Let's just... It's foolish to do anything right now. You got to wait until everything from the old ore tables is gone. You got to wait for that. Don't do anything right now.
So I said, I think this has two problems. The first one is the quantity of players that simply mine the ore and doesn't necessarily process it. There's a huge quantity of ore floating around. So of course prices are gonna drop. I mean, I think that light and mica that's
also
going for 3,200 is a bit ridiculous at the moment. And the second part, I don't agree with that the essence needs to come from metamorphic, because there needs to be both a sense of pride that if you acquire something, you know that it's acquired through a proper method. And in this case, it will both be through Nex and Rise of the Six, which provides Torva armor and Malevolent armor. So, with a huge amount of players that would get these metamorphic essences and everything, it would easily overflow the market, and that's not something I really think. And if it would be untradeable, then it's either a thing that you start hoarding until you can make your own masterwork, but that's gonna take a huge time, and in that case, it's just gonna lie around the bank and be worthless until you have acquired so much of it that it can be used. Because you don't want to buy a whole Torva plate body for 59 mil. So, I'm sorry, I don't see this thing being a thing.
Okay.
See, and I disagree.
I disagree too. And let me
yeah.
just say what the ultimate solution is for this. And David agrees, who has made billions of GP of wealth from Telos and all the other bosses in the game. He agrees with this, and he came up with this idea. Our PVM guy, David. He says remove stone spirits from the drop tables. Simple. Simple.
Yeah, I could accept that.
There you go. See, it's not a controversial idea when you put it out there, and it fixes this problem that they're having. And I don't know why anyone thinks that looking at moving some of the stone spirits up to the higher tiered ones a month before double XP weekend is a good idea.
It's not. That needs to happen. And I mean, that doesn't really, I don't see how though that addresses like the essence problem. Because here's the thing, man. Look at how many hours I spent making my masterwork. I had to sell that masterwork, and I couldn't even buy 4 of those Torva Essence things. Not even 4 of them out of a whole set of masterwork. Now, that's not right. That's not fair in any way. Like, there's nothing you can say that makes that fair. And you know how many times I've gotten the top drop on one of those metamorphic geodes? Never.
Yep.
And I've probably opened about 100 of them. Never got an Onyx. Never gotten anything good, for that matter. I've gotten an Effigy. Ooh. Thanks. That's cool. But that's not a wow moment. Like, they can endure a tiny little tweak of pain once in a while. Like, I mean, should a Torfa plate body ever be 60 mil? For what? Exactly, no. So if by giving us a 1 in 500 chance lowers that a little bit, I don't feel bad.
Yeah, I agree with you.
About that.
I agree with you. I agree with you and Pernasius on this. Because it's obvious right now things aren't working out the way they intended. There's more people mining than they thought there was going to be. There's fewer people making masterwork than they thought there was going to be. There's going to be fewer people making masterwork in the future than they thought there would be because of its degrade rate. So what you end up having is you end up having a problem where what they put in for the moneymaker at the end just is not going to be worth it through a number of factors. And I held my breath on this until this week to comment on the ore prices because I wanted to see what was going to happen with them. And I can fairly say right now that this is indeed a supply problem caused by too much supply in the economy. And why you would think that adding higher stone spirits at this point, a month before double XP weekend, when there are so many people mining out there, and it was an admission on the live stream that there is too much ore in the game, I don't see why that's a good idea at all to be adding higher tiered stone spirits. Now, I'm gonna give them a break here, and I'm gonna say if it's, for example, orichalcite or nechrite or phasmatite, or maybe even banestone spirits, that might be okay, because I don't think people are focusing on those that much. But whatever you do, do not add animica, light animica, or dark animica, or banestone spirits.
Yeah, no, I don't. And see, I don't think you can get at it from there, because that's not supply usually does. I mean, I don't know if this is true. What I learned in economics was supply doesn't dictate price. That's demand. So the only way you get at that is from demand.
The only way you can control price with supply is if you are flooding the market, causing things to go down, or alternatively, and Jagex can't do this, or you put a tax to make prices go up.
And we don't want taxes.
So
yeah, there we have it.
Whoever thought we'd be talking about supply side economics in RuneScape?
Oh, that voodoo
I mean, we could also talk about global warming with coal.
Hey, we tried to get rid of it. Shane's still holding on to that with clutched in his hands.
And look how excited he is now that the coal out the heater uses 5 coal instead of 1.
Yeah,
but if they don't touch it, I think this is all going to settle down.
Yeah, it will after double XP weekend. What Jagex effectively have done with this update is they have made it more appealing to go out and mine. And you can look at this. This is indeed practicing supply-side economics, because what they did is they made it so that the supply side, of course, which is what we're talking about, the mining skill, is more appealing, and that is caused, and if you were to look at it from the pure definition of supply-side economics focuses on decreasing regulation and lowering taxes. And when you have something that makes it easier to get, you are effectively decreasing regulation. The regulations, in effect, have been decreased on the mining skill, increasing the amount of ore in game, which made people rich to a
stretch. But I'll give you an A for effort.
No, it made there be more ore in the game, so to speak.
Well, yeah, but that's not regulations.
Well, I mean, in theory, it is almost the sense in that it's a regulation because previously you could only get X ore per hour, but now you can get more if you actively play, and there's all these new types that are encouraging people to come out for it.
See, and this is kind of amazing though, because I'm completely coming from a Keynesian perspective here, saying, well, it's because people aren't demanding the ore, which is why the price is
And
low.
I see it as a supply problem.
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
Two sides of the same coin?
Kind of, but
to be fair, it's actually both in this case.
yeah, that's probably true.
So I think that there will be a less of a supply with time, because I know that a lot of people already now are starting to slow down the mining, especially when they see that the prices have dropped. I mean, when it came out, it wasn't unusual that you would get 42k per Animaker ore, which was incredibly appealing, and I myself made 40 mil just the first 2 days from just mining, and just by trading and everything. And nowadays it's 3,400, so with time the supply will go down. When it comes to demand, I think we got the idea that Shane proposed earlier, that if you could make salvage, and salvage with a very low hierarchy rate, that would be bringing good components for invention, and maybe also make it a bit fast, so that
I'm not even sure if that's needed, though, but it's an idea.
Okay. Yeah, an idea that basically wastes bar, but that works for the player. And I think that invention components could really present that solution, because the components in itself doesn't do anything. It just sits in the pouch. It's what you make with those components, which comes to everything with perk. It can even be maybe not alchemical onyx, but basically everything that the invention skill can offer.
Well, I mean, I think we got the answer to Parnassius's question here. We got two different ones to it. I think the ultimate answer is don't do anything right now, and remove stone spirits. So,
yeah.
Alrighty. If you guys want to send your own questions in, you can email them to questions@rsbnb.com. You can also leave us a DM or @mention on Twitter @RSBNB. Alrighty, so everyone here, at least everyone around us, probably knows someone who uses Google Chrome and an ad blocker, or something called uBlock Origin. And, this was actually in the news a bit this week, because these ad blockers are under fire with a new version of the Chromium extension API that allows them to do the work that they do. So what this means is that under the hood, in a future version of Chromium, the folks who work on Chrome and Chromium are going to be scaling back the interface that allows the people who make extensions like uBlock Origin and AdBlock Plus, as well as many other extensions for various antivirus manufacturers, to, in effect, rope those hooks in so that those extensions will be less effective. And the reasoning for this is that what they want to do is they want to limit how many requests are blocked in the extensions, because what all these extensions have in common is that they look at the websites and sub-websites that your browser connects to when you load a page. So, for example, when you go to rsbnb.com, you are inherently pulling in code from Google because we have Google ads on the page. And it gets more egregious when you go to other big websites like The Verge and whatnot. And the point of these extensions is that it makes your web browsing experience a lot faster, because it maintains a list of known domain names and web addresses that pull code in that effectively slow down your web browsing. And that's what these plugins do, is they just make your web browser faster by not loading these resources. And what Google, or rather the Chromium folks, are going to be going after are the hooks that these extensions use in order to make that possible. And there's some question about why this is being done, whether or not it's because Google is coming out with its own ad blocking in Chrome this summer that is going to be targeting the most egregious of the adverts out there and allow ads that Google deems as not annoying and whatnot to carry on. Well, meanwhile, annoying ads will be shut down. But what Google, I think, is not realizing with this is that many of the people who use these extensions like uBlock, Origin, Ghostery, and the extensions from their antivirus manufacturers is that these extensions are also used to prevent websites like Facebook and Twitter from tracking you on the internet when you're on a website that isn't named Facebook or Twitter. So there's going to be lots of question about this going forward, and this is something that Firefox will be in the position to respond to, as will Apple with Safari, because if Google goes down this road and they get rid of extensions such as uBlock Origin, AdBlock Plus, or Ghostery, people are going to move from that browser.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I don't know, I honestly think that what Google is trying to do is trying to force people to their own ad blocking service, as well as force people to rely on actual content blockers, which require the request to come in, which still slows down the web page, and then remove the elements from the page rather than just shutting them off completely at the source.
Yeah, they want to control. I mean, that's all it comes down to. They want to control what's getting blocked and what ain't, because, well, they make money from the ads.
Yeah,
right?
And that's why they're bringing
in
their own ad blocker this summer to make sure that only non-annoying ads get through. And of course, there's will be in that category as well. And I think if they were, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, not in the same way that I do most times, but I'm going to say that if they wanted to, and they wanted to make sure these extensions could still work, there's no reason to kill these APIs off. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
Well, someone come along and just figure out another way of doing it. Like, isn't this a build a better mousetrap scenario?
Well, it is, but the problem is that the new APIs that they're putting in place to perform the same things require the request to come in still, whereas these you can just shut them off before your browser accepts them right now. So the request will need to come in, and the amount that you can block will be limited. Whereas here, now, you can literally have a list of 15,000 domains that you want to shut off from even being able to connect to you, and you can do that with the current API. You won't be able to have that many after, and they'll still need to come into the browser before you can decide if you want to accept them.
That's too bad, because that's one of the few reasons that I will use Chrome when I do.
Well, Firefox is going to be able to handle this to do the same set of effects. So,
I feel like Firefox is like the computer person's browser, though. It'd be something that you would use, Shane. I don't know if I'm sophisticated enough.
No, they're all the same, really. I mean, on the surface, it's the same thing. Yeah.
I personally only use Chrome, and I don't know how a large portion of users only use one. I either only Firefox, only Chrome, only Safari, but it might come down to using two if this goes the wrong way, and we all know that being the most popular browser is a huge thing in the internet world.
Yeah, and if this happens, I'll just go to Safari because it gives me better integration with macOS. So.
Yeah, and I've been using 2 for a long, long time. It just means that I'll use Chrome even less than I do. So, yeah.
Do you really think it will affect you, Tanis? Is it something that will be on the back of your mind a month after it happened?
In some ways. I've had problems with ads just screwing stuff up. That's the only reason I have
screen readers,
an
right?
ad block. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's a fair reason right there. Yeah. So we'll have to see where this comes down. Okie dokie. Next piece of tech news. Apple has dismissed more than 200 people from Project Titan, which is its autonomous vehicle group. Now, this was initially supposed to be a rumor, but an Apple spokesperson did actually confirm these layoffs and said that, yes, the company still sees opportunity in this space, and this is indeed some corporate spin you're about to hear right now. We have an incredibly talented team working on autonomous systems and assistive technologies at Apple. As the team focuses their work on several key areas for 2019, some key groups are being moved on to projects in other parts of the company where they will support machine learning and other initiatives across all of Apple. And what this effectively means is that Apple is now focusing on the software of the car rather than creating their own version of a car, as they were thought to have been partnering with one of the major manufacturers to launch a car in the early 2020s, but that doesn't appear to be happening now.
It's so weird. It's like opposite of what Apple usually does.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a reining back, and you could kind of expect and see this coming because Tim Cook, when he was interviewed out not too long ago at the beginning of the year, last week, he said that if you look into the future and you look back, you ask the question, what was Apple's greatest contribution to mankind? He thinks it's going to be about health.
Huh?
Yeah. He sees the Apple Watch as a huge market going forward and improving its health sensors in the health arena.
That's not the first thing I would think about
No.
if you would ask me the Apple's greatest contribution.
Well, he means like in 50 years' time, you're looking at the entirety of the company. He assumes it will be health.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. And our last piece of tech news is regarding something we talked about back in 2017, in particular YouTube TV. This is the TV service that's available only in the United States. And for $40 a month, you get a whole collection of TV channels. You can have it online. And I don't know. I mean, let me just look at these channels for you, Tanis, and you tell me if this is going to be if this is a good service for you. Okay?
Okay.
So channels include ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, AMC, BBC, Bravo, Big Ten, CNBC, CNN, the CW, Disney, Disney XD, so on and so forth, ESPN, Sports Channel, Fox Business, Fox News, Fox Sports, FX, the Golf Channel, Headline News, IFC, Major League Baseball, MSNBC, National Geographic, NBA TV, NBC Sportsnet, Newsy, the Olympic Channel, Pop, the Smithsonian Channel, Start TV, Sundance TV, Tennis, TNT, Universo, and USA Network, among others, for $40 a month.
I mean, it's not bad.
So
It's not bad. I literally watch no TV now. Ironically, I watch a lot of YouTube. Like, that is TV for me.
Welcome to my life.
Right.
I mean, the only time I watch TV, that's basically to watch aircraft investigation on National Geographic.
Oh, I love that show.
Oh, I love it too. It's the best.
Like, that's a great channel they have on there. I'm a little disappointed there was no History Channel on there. That's the only channel I used to watch and actually would watch like all the time. So
All right.
that would be cool.
But anyways, $40 a month if you live in the U.S. You can practically get it in any major metropolitan region now. And what they're saying is that by the time the Super Bowl comes around, they expect to have this in practically every city in the United States. So,
Well, that would be cool, and it's only a couple of weeks away. So
yeah.
The move.
anything that can compete with Comcast, I'm all for it. Get them.
Yeah.
Get them.
The January 23rd expansion included Albany, Georgia, Alexandria, Louisiana, Amarillo, Anchorage. It just goes on and on and on. Lafayette, Indiana.
Whoa.
Yeah. Laredo.
I know someone there.
Laredo. Let's see. Trying to think if I see any of these other cities that I might know. But, obscure places that normally wouldn't be a target of things like this, like Sioux City and Sioux Falls, Watertown, Wilmington, Nebraska, Yuma, El Centro. So, these aren't like the Atlantas and New Yorks, but...
Did you say you can watch this like from your desktop?
Yeah, you can watch it. You can watch it from your desktop, or you can watch it from any smart TV or Apple TV or Chromecast or Xbox.
Oh, I forgot about Apple TV. We have one of those.
Yeah. iOS. Yeah. So now you see the appeal of it.
Yeah, I kind of get it a little bit more now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially with all this mining, you know. I mean,
good reason to be a cord cutter, nonetheless. So,
yeah.
Cloud DVR with no storage limits. So basically, you can record a show and have it anywhere that you can access your device. You get 6 accounts per household. Everyone has their own login and their own notifications as well as DVR. So,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and you know it's a really
actually
good feature.
Pretty good deal.
and they do have a free trial. Unfortunately, I can't see what's into it because I'm not in the United States, so it doesn't let me sign in for that. But if you go to tv.youtube.com, you'll be greeted with all the onboarding, and you'll see a free trial option for it. So.
I wonder if they still have the YouTube exclusives. I know they're doing away with them. But
Yep, YouTube Originals are on here as well.
Oh, cool. Ooh, I want to see the rest of Cobra Kai. Hacha.
Do you feel like moving to the United States, Shane? It's a good deal.
Not right now. Not right now.
Okay. This is topic for another show.
That's right. Okay, so moving on to other things, our January Skill of the Month update, including our range skill of the month. Sorensen 57 is still in first place with 40.2 million XP gained. And in second place, we have Jam Andy 52 with 21.2, which has remained relatively constant since last week. And in third place, we have Compsci with 4 million XP gained.
Ouch.
Keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll see some stuff. But anyways, let's move on to achievements. Tycho, take us into them.
Yeah, sure. Let's start it off with Farox Kratos with 99 smithing on the 23rd of January. Congratulations! Such a good timing with this rework. Then we have Love Natural with 99 constitution, also on the 23rd of January. Congratulations. Then we have Wiki86 from Clan Quest with 99 magic, 21st of January. Congratulations. And then we have our clue hunter, I can never say this right, Derpalnienux, with the 120th invention on January 20th. Congratulations, Derp.
Nicely done. Next up, continuing this theme, we have iHerbala with 120 farming on January 19th, Derpal New again with 99 strength on January 18th, Friar with 99 summoning on January 18th, and Cabbage with 120 fishing on January 17th.
Nice, everyone. Well, then on January 17th, we have Pernacius with 120 farming. Uh-oh, look out, Shane. Here he comes.
Shane is not the only farmer in town.
I know, right? And Doc Hawk with 99 summoning on the 17th. And here comes Derp again with 99 attack on the 17th. And Derp again with 99 smithing on the 17th. So nice. He waited for the rework. Cool.
Very nice. Nice achievements, everyone. So I believe you have a pick of the week for us, Tannis. What do you got?
I do have a pick. So I picked up this game about, it was the week of Christmas. I think I got like maybe Christmas Eve, the day before. It is called War of Rights. So War of Rights is a really, 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 really cool game. Right now it's multiplayer only. But what it is a multiplayer shooter set in the American Civil War, particularly in the Eastern campaign that involved Antietam. So there's most of the battlefields are different parts of the Antietam battlefield, but there are also a couple Harper's Ferry maps, which all around the same time. It is just an excellent game. If you want to play a game where that has serious cooperation and communication and people actually take it seriously with their maneuvers and stuff, this is the game. A lot of people, but not all, but a lot of people that do play it are come from like a reenactment world, so they kind of, you know, they know what they're talking about when they're talking about formations and getting people in line and everything. It's really fluid with you know, charges and counter charges, and it's just a really, really good game.
Do we know how historically accurate it is?
It's on the money, man. They have a in-house historian, and they've produced several videos you can find on their website, where he's actually goes out, you know, on the battlefield, and here's one about accuracy, Shane. I wouldn't expect you to know much about the American Civil War, but during the Battle of okay. Well, so during the Battle of Antietam, there's that one point in the battle where the Union is coming out of this cornfield, right? They can't see that the Confederates are right in front of them, and they just open fire, right? And so Union soldiers are just getting mowed down, right, in this cornfield. Well, I've played that on War of Rights, that map, and when you're walking through that field with your comrades and stuff, it's so eerie. Like, you can't see in front of you, and then the next thing you know, you hear this thunder, and then you hear these bullets just buzzing right by your head, because it's got that, I don't know what you call it, but it's the sound where you can tell where people are, like
spatial sound.
Yes. And it's so cool. And the thing is, like, you think like, oh, if I was ever in that battle, I would do this. And no, you wouldn't, because it's just, when you first get in there, like, it's this chaos. Once the firing starts, you hear your officers are like yelling, you know, like, line up, and you just get so immersed. And I've never played anything like as immersive as this game.
And it has really good looking graphics too, from what I can see.
Yes, it's amazing. Now, look, this game isn't for everyone. This is not a Twitch shooter kind of thing. You are firing muzzle loaders, and you are charging with bayonets.
Can you play as the Confederates?
You can. That depends on how much language you can handle. Let's put it that way. but there are a lot of organized regiments, and you will have everything from full scale line battles to smaller skirmishes, where, you know, you're just going to join a server. But there are a lot of opportunities to join an actual regiment, and you do your drills, and you practice. It's, I don't know. I've never played anything like it. And if you're into that, it's really good. Now, this isn't the same as a hold fest where you grab a gun and run in and just be like, woo, Call of Duty of muskets. It's not like that. It's not like that, you know. If you do that, you will die. Well, see, because there are some really interesting mechanics with this game. Like, you need to be in line. Like, well, not in line, but you need to be in formation. If you get out of formation, you're costing your team a tremendous amount of tickets if you get killed. So, like, it really encourages that cooperative play, and to be in your formation. Because if you go out like a Rambo, you're going to make your team lose, because it's a battle of tickets. You know, as when you die and respawn, right. It takes
okay.
So there's a lot of like little really interesting mechanics with it that I just really, really enjoy it. Right now, there's infantry. And of course, you know, you have your flag bearers and stuff. They're looking to add possibly musicians in the future, and I really hope they bring in artillery. I think that would be just excellent. You can hear the artillery in the game, and you can get killed by artillery, but you can't. You know what I mean? It's not something you can like do yet. But in this game is actually, I want to tell everyone this too. This is an alpha game. I've never seen an alpha game this good, ever. Like, just ever. There, you may drop a server once in a while, but I mean, for the most part, I really, really like it. If you are into the Civil War, I could not recommend this enough. Like, if you are into the Civil War, this is really, really cool. Like, all the way down to the uniforms are exact. The regiments that they have in there are the exact regiments that fought in that particular battle. It's just really... It's really good. This is the kind of game that I always wanted there to be, and I never thought it would actually happen. Like, I never thought this would happen, but they did.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
All right.
That's my pick of the week, War of Rights.
warofrights.com. How much does it cost?
It was $30 when I picked it up.
All right.
But like I said, I got my $30 out of it the first week. Like, it's well worth it to me.
All righty. Sounds good. warofrights.com. So what have we been up to? Let's start with you, Tycho.
So what have I been up to? So this wasn't recently, but I was doing the Ark, and I experienced one of the very few moments in my life where I basically rage quitted because the Ark was such a tremendous amount of work to get all the chimes and get this Taojitsu currency. And I just sold everything, and then I promised I would never go there again. But I returned, and I finished the Ark. So I got the salty title now.
Oh, good.
Oh.
And that
Salty
was
Tycho.
because of this. Yeah, which actually fits quite good here in the Nordic lands because we are salting the salt here.
And your fish.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
let's not talk about the fish.
Shane, I spilled you
no.
from the fish.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, oh yeah, indeed. So I got the salty title now, and then, of course, we had a huge mining and smithing rework, and I'm basically somebody who's been mining a ton. And with the double XP weekend coming up, we have, of course, the rune miniatures. That's the next to best summoning XP when it comes to blue charms. And with rune bars now being much easier to make and much more easier to obtain, well, I just been mining like a madman. So I got 8,000 blue charms in my bank,
Jesus.
which means I need 8,000 rune bars, which means 8,000 runite ore and 8,000 luminite ore. And I'm up to 3,000 each at the moment.
Well, there's an upshot. Summoning then becomes easy to do then, because then
so
you just need the shards.
Yeah, so I've been slowly hoarding, and my bank is gonna feel a bit for this. And then I, of course, took the opportunity to finish a couple of clue scrolls and get my Grace of the Elves, because I felt that it was never gonna pay off, and I don't think it will ever pay off, especially from the rare drop table. But it has actually given me around 2 mil from it. But I could not be the elf I am without the Grace of the Elf necklace.
Very true.
I just couldn't. So that's basically me. I'm gonna continue to mine all the runite and luminite ore. And actually, just 2 hours before the podcast, I looked into runite ore spirits, and I just bought 2,500 of them.
I wish Rune was a little bit more on the GP table, but that's fine. How about you, Tanis?
Well, so last week I finished my Masterwork set, and this week I sold it to try to buy some of the essence I need for trim.
Aha.
And so now I'm making set number 2. And I think I've got 7 glorious bars so far, so I got to mine the
5
rest.
more.
Yeah, we're getting there. But I don't think I'm going to continue to do the mining for the money. I actually think I'm just going to go do some salvage stuff, and just see what happens. So really, it's just been, more mining and smithing this week, and trying to decide what I'm going to do for Double XP weekend. The clan, or my clan, is starting a competition tomorrow, another month-long one, and I'm trying to not get drug into it, because I vowed, New Year's resolution this year was I was only doing one competition this year.
One competition.
One competition. And I don't think I'm ready to spend it yet.
Uh-huh. Why hold yourself back, Tennis?
Because I probably did too many of them last year. I did quite a few. And
I don't know. You really fried those fish quite good. Yeah.
I did cook some fish. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You did indeed.
All right. Well, as for me this week, I hit 100 million Herblore XP. I was just mixing some Juju farming potions, mixing the next batch of those. So 100 mil Herb XP. So safe bet to say that'll be finished on Double XP weekend. But aside from that, just I did the XP tests this week. I did them numerous times to make sure they were right. Learned how to 4-tick the ore in the process. And, aside from that, just use some of those ram hammers during Traherne Hour that I walked up upon. Those are damn nice.
Oh, yeah.
And I should report that I actually did get a couple metamorphic geodes this week. One of them had Hydrix bolt tips in them, and the other one had 3 concentrated alloy bars.
Ooh, lucky you. I got a first age.
1 mil GP.
Yeah, what do you do with that? I got one of those too,
Alkit.
and I have Alkit?
For
Okay.
1 mil. Yeah.
Oh, really?
1 million. Oh, yeah. 1 million GP.
Okay, well, good. Okay.
So,
All right.
so why do you need those essences from Torva Plate Body, or when you just can get a free meal?
Yeah,
Well,
most of the
because
other
you still
stuff's
need
not worth
another
1 mil.
10.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Wait a minute. Do they really cost that much?
Yeah, dude, you can't even touch them at 11 mil right now, a piece.
Oh, okay. That explains a lot.
Yeah, dude. You didn't think we're not joking. It's bad.
I've just been mining. I haven't been at Artisan's.
Yeah. No, it's not good.
Okay. That explains a bit. Well, okay. I still don't think that they should add the essences to Metamorphic, but I think now hearing that, they should probably even it out.
Yeah, they should do something. So
yeah, but as Shane said, don't do it right now. Let it ease up a little bit after Double XP weekend. This is a huge success. You just took gold in skill rework. Go for gold. So take your time and take it easy.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, thank you everybody for being here. Good to have you both on the show. We'll be back next week to discuss what I presume is a patch week. So we'll see you then. And if you want to join us in game, we're at Friends Chat Bits Bytes, and we're also on Twitter at RSBANDB. And if you want to join us in our Discord, you can get there by going to rsbnb.com/Discord. See you next week, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Send your fan mails.